Welcome to the Between Two Panels podcast, where Ryan and Sean will discuss the independent comic making process, from the writing to the art, finding a printer, crowdfunding, publishers, and comic conventions, and any and all stops in between. Also featuring some of the best and brightest creators on the indie scene today.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited about this. This is something new that we've never done before.
Right, like everything else, right?
Right, and I don't know if people necessarily like the conversations we have, but I know I do.
Right, that's it.
You know,
yeah, just two guys shooting the shit.
That's right, pretty much. So let's see. Big news this week. Madeline was married.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
You're a father of a guy now, so
I know.
Isn't
crazy. Hey, did you get your invitation?
I did, like Saturday.
So we had two groups of invitations that Stacy was she was in charge of sending them all out, but two groups that happened to both be mine.
Yeah.
Kind of got misplaced for a while.
I just figured with all the bad weather, Mel wasn't coming out of Arkansas very quickly, you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But no, it was great, man. We had a good time and got to see all my sisters. They came in, saw my mom.
Nice.
You know, yeah, it was real nice.
Does your mom still live there with you? Or I'm not in your house, but in the same
No. She lives down in Prairie Grove, actually.
Okay, yeah, Prairie Grove.
So about an hour away from door to door, actually. It's not horrible because you head out 74 west, go to 16, and you straight shot.
Yeah, I remember I vaguely remember Prairie Grove back in the day.
Dude, it's gotten a lot bigger since you were here last. Because
I'm sure.
Well, that's where everybody seems to be moving because it's cheap land for right now. But
yeah,
they already have like a Taco Bell and they're building a McDonald's out there. And yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. So
that is
anyways. Yeah. But so the kids, they are in the Bahamas actually as we speak right now.
Nice.
They took a cruise for their honeymoon. So it's all expense paid trip, and they left on Sunday night, got there early Monday morning, and I think it's for the entire week.
Out of Miami, or where they kind of cruise out of?
They flew out of Orlando and then drove to Port Canaveral, which is where they launched.
Yeah, gotcha.
And then they sailed to the Bahamas, and they got there this morning actually.
Yeah,
I believe maybe it was Monday. I don't know. Days run together, man.
Right. It's hard to believe it's already Tuesday. So
I know it sucks. So, but you know, it's all good. Everything's good. I texted her the other night, and she's doing good. You know, it's all good stuff. So I'm pretty excited about that. The younger one, she was on the dean's list this year.
Nice.
So yeah, man, it's everything's going really good. I have a comic book that I'm writing with my best pal, and
really tell me more about that. What's that all about?
So it was just a crazy idea that we had, and you know, it kind of snowballed, and here we are in the middle of a podcast of all things. So
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The podcast I don't mind so much. It's okay. I mean, it gives us a chance to talk, and we can claim it's work related with the comic, you know. So
right on.
But if you told me all the stress I'm having right now with the comics and stuff, it's just crazy. It's like, well, yeah, it like right now, you know where we're at. We're kind of on issue, finishing up 10 for the letter, just finished 10. 11's got to go to the letter, all the side stories, and trying to get those buttoned up with this kind of a, what do you call it? They are an all in-house comic, right? So they do everything, lettering, coloring, those inks, the whole thing. They do the whole thing. And it's not going the way I would have hoped. I thought, you know, hiring them, we'd have, you know, a lot less stress because we don't have to, you know, find an artist, find a colorist, but it's been, to be honest with you, it's been the worst part of this process for me with these guys.
So you know, when the expectation is they would take care of most of the stuff and take it off of our plate because we're both more creative than you know, production. Neither one of us really knew anything about comic book production before we started this, right?
Right.
So I feel you, man.
Oh yeah, and then, when they were supposed to have the first story done in September, and here it is January, and they just got me. I don't even know. I'm afraid to open the file. I really am. They sent the file, and I'm like, I don't even want to open it because it's just and you hate to say that, but this is the colorist, and the colorist told me what he was doing. He had these ideas, and he wanted to do different color tones for like when it kind of flashes back, and I thought that makes sense. So the colorist seems to have a good head on his shoulders about comic stuff. So
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, the problem with this art studio was they hire great artists, but Ben talked about this a little bit. It's one thing to be a great artist, but that doesn't necessarily translate into being a great comic book artist, because you got sequencing, you got panel to panel to tell the movement. You got to kind of it's not a necessity, but it helps the reader if when you do the page turns, it makes more sense, that kind of thing. It's suspenseful when you turn the page, but yeah, so yeah, makes me really appreciate the great artists we do work with, though. You know what I mean? Great comic artists.
No, absolutely, and it's a lesson learned. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So it's going great though, right? Like Immortalis, we got our first graphic novel out. People bought it. Yeah. I've had so many people tell me that. Oh well, hey, I bought your graphic novel. Well, cool. What'd you think? Oh, I loved it. I don't know if that's true or not, but at least it's being nice to me,
Right. So, and it was a big learning process for us, right? Because,
right,
like you said, we had never done a comic or anything like that before, from tip to tail. I mean, the whole thing: hiring, writing, editing. Putting it all together, finding printers for a while, doing our own advertisements, our own Comic Cons. It's been crazy. It's been nuts. So
it's been a lot of work, but something I've been listening to a lot of like other podcasts lately, and I've kind of found a common theme through all these successful people that I'm listening to, and it's how much effort that they put in before they get that success,
Yeah.
And so like that kind of keeps me motivated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I get a big motivation from I like when I don't do a lot of detail. I know in your writing I think you do a lot of character detail, right? You know what I'm saying?
I do, yes.
I understand the need for that, especially when you're launching something that's going to be an ongoing series, 6 to 8 years, or 3 novels, whatever your end game is with that. You still haven't really. Have you nailed that down yet?
So here's the funny part, and for those people that don't know, I have never written a comic before. I've always been more of a long form writer, which means a novelist, and I've never ever in my entire life completed one. But this whole experience has really motivated me to actually complete something. But the problem is like, I don't want to do a long form story for this, because I think from like a visuals perspective, it probably lends itself to like a movie or TV or something. So I tried my hand in writing a script. And the problem is with being a long form writer like I am, I detail. And I told this to Sean the other day, like I had 181 pages before I felt comfortable in finishing. The unfortunate part of that is, as I went back to re-edit it, I kept adding, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And so right now, I have, at last count, and this is, in script form, I have about 368 pages written now.
Wow.
And so it's probably, I think I'm going to stretch. So I sent you one, the first part one,
1.5. Is that what I think you?
That was what that was all about. Yeah, I sent it to you directly, and then I canceled your access on my Google Drive and resent it to you because I don't know if it was still active, because it said you hadn't accessed it before. So, anyways,
didn't you send me a PDF through the email? That's where
email through the mail. You snail mailed that, right? No.
No. So I just sent you an email, and it's supposed to reset all that stuff.
Yep.
So, anyways. I've got the first part in there. I'm pretty excited about it because I'm one of the things that that people will find out about us is we're not just like science fiction fans or fantasy fans. We're not genre specific. We love everything. So I took parts of everything that I love in science fiction and fantasy and kind of try to push it all together, like how we did with Immortalis. And I came up with this story that I think is pretty good. I like it. Of course, I'm very high on myself. So, but truthfully, I edited it down to 140 pages. But there's a lot of detail in those 140 pages. But that's going to be the first part. And if we can make it into like a graphic novel, I see the spectacle. Like it can be something very, I guess I was kind of inspired by Dune a little bit. I've been working on this story on and off since like 2008.
Oh, wow.
So, but watching Dune and just seeing some of the visuals on that, like I kind of went so this is crazy because Dune 2 came out, in March, right?
Yeah, I think something like that.
So I revisited this story. Not that it has very much to do with Dune, but the simple fact is like I reimagined some of the stuff that I had put in there from '08, and it just started to flow. and so I finished the first draft with 180 some odd pages, like I don't know, maybe a month after I started it. And then like the last couple of months, like I've just been adding and adding and adding, just so it ballooned from this one tight story to like something that's even bigger and bigger. And so right now I've got, like I said, 360 some odd pages written of this story. And so like we can probably break it down and make it a graphic novel. We could do probably a series, but I really kind of see it on the big screen. Like that's kind of the way I wrote it for, with a few people and like actors and actresses that I'm familiar with. Like I see them in my mind. And so I started writing like specifically for them.
Yeah.
And I, by no means do I figure like I'm this super great writer or anything like that, but like it was inspiring enough that I actually finished it, like to my satisfaction. The story actually has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and there's a whole, like they have motivation, like it's all, and it's not laborious in the middle, like I have these great ideas to start stories, but in my life I have found that I don't really do a good job of sticking the landing. Yeah. And I feel like I've stuck the landing because one of the things I did this time is I wrote the beginning, and then I was like, you know what? I feel very creative right now. I'm going to write the end. So I wrote the end, and then I wrote the story to fill in the gaps. So I kind of already had an idea as I wrote. And, it's more of like a love letter to like science fiction and fantasy, Star Wars, Battlestar and Star Trek. We got a little bit of Babylon 5 in there. I was just inspired by like all this stuff that I watched growing up, and I was like, I can do this. And so that's what happens. I just started writing it, and man, I couldn't stop until it was done. And like I told you, this is the first time I've ever been really excited for somebody else to read my stuff. Usually I get pretty embarrassed because like I said, it's a strong beginning, but it's not always a strong ending,
Right. And a lot of, I think that's a lot of problem, or that's a problem that a lot of either new writers, and by means, I'm no great writer or anything, but having wrote a bunch of stuff, got some stuff, published, all that. The thing is, a lot of people just see the big idea and they just put it in the front. And you got to remember, you're building higher obstacles. You got to have this 3-story arc. You can't just bam, the big thing in the beginning, and then where do we go from here? You got to get the reader invested in. It's nice to have that, first 5 pages be a banger, but there's always got to be higher obstacles, higher goals. You know what I mean? So I can understand how that as writing could really trip somebody up, and like you said, starting projects and then I don't know where to go from here, so I'm gonna write something else.
Right, and I mean, you've known me for man, the better part of a decade now, over a decade,
yeah.
And like I've never finished, like really finished strongly on anything, but I have great beginnings. It's just the weak endings. But now I think I cracked the code on this one. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
Like I feel good about it. I know that we're gonna have to go through and edit it and rewrite some stuff, but
yeah,
like I had a few ideas that I thought would work, and then as I went to reread it, It
Yeah.
just did. So I pulled it out and I replaced it, and just different stuff is going on, you know?
No, and you've got to take a critical eye and take critical advice for your work. It's kind of like what we're saying about these great artists that this in-house art company had. They're great artists, a couple of them straight out of art school, but you got to take criticism. You got to be able to do a couple of drafts. You can't just think first thing you make right out of the gate is going to be perfect. You're just going to bang out Emmy award winning EGOT whatever right off the bat. Be willing to cut your own work to pieces. Be harsh to yourself. Don't go in it thinking that I'm a great artist. My S doesn't stink. You know what I mean? So
No, it's true. It's absolutely true. And like I said, I've always been not necessarily embarrassed, but reluctant to let other people read it, because like I told you, I always feel good about the beginning. It's just the ending,
yeah.
you know. And the great part about the story that I sent to you is it's the first act,
yeah,
right. And so like the ending is it's strong, but it's not as strong as how the story actually ends. So it kind of sets up that second act, which is, you know, of course, everybody wants to write like The Empire Strikes Back, you know, as a sequel. And I'm not saying that's what the second story is, but I introduced a lot of concepts that, it's just going to be an homage to Empire in a way, you know, and so hopefully, like I said, I know there's still work to do, but I'm pretty excited about it, you know?
Yeah. Have you decided what form you're really going to nail down and try and work on, or what? I know that I told you that was a big hurdle for you, is you got to figure out, do you want to write a novel? Do you want to write a graphic novel? Do you want to do a comics? You know, there's so many different things.
Right. And so like I told you, it's in movie script form right now. I found that movie script editor thing, and it really flowed well for me, you know, because it let me, you know, I can do the descriptions. I see it like it's crazy. Like, this will sound crazy to lots of people that don't write, but like I see it in my mind, and it's like my mind is always running. So I see it, and so like I'm trying to write it down before that picture changes, you know?
Right.
And so like, but the movie script kind of helped me do that, because it broke it down into pieces, right? And so like that was really helpful for me. And then like I've always felt like I'm pretty strong with dialogue, and like the first pass was not as strong as it could have been. And I have a little bit of, even the version I sent to you, I have voice confusion on a couple. So I have people that sound kind of similar, and really I'm going to have to go back and we're going to have to revoice some of not necessarily the content of what they're saying, but how they say it.
Yeah.
And that's just to be more consistent throughout the entire story.
Right.
And so I recognize that stuff now, but I wouldn't have if it wasn't in that script form. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I do understand what you mean. And tone and cadence, and, you know, not having two-dimensional characters, have each one have their own voice. It's very important. And, you know, a movie script is a lot like a comic script. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Except where with a movie script, you're taking it, you're giving it to the storyboarders, who give it to the director, who gives it, you know, then shoots it, and then gives it to the cinematographer, and then the editor, and all that. It's kind of the same process, right? You're taking a picture that's in your head, you're putting it on paper. You want that, what's on that paper, to put that picture that was in your head into the artist's head. You know what I mean? Me and Ben talked about that. It's just transference. All you're doing is taking things and transferring it to a different medium, put what you originally had in your head in their head, and then them to put it on this paper. So yeah, it's a process, man. I really think doing 5 or 6 drafts is really when you start to realize, all right, this character's starting to sound too much like this character. And then you start finding those patterns and different things and different personalities with characters. And that really sets a different tone, you know, once you get that deep into it.
So my main character is African American, and I'll be danged if I didn't keep hearing Samuel L. Jackson.
Nice.
Now, the character is too young to be Samuel L. Jackson, but it's really hard to not hear it in his voice. You know what I'm saying?
Is every
But
other word MFer?
no. But
Okay.
I tried really hard to keep it as family friendly as possible. So I get high techie in it, and obviously there's some sci-fi elements to it. So it's going to be. I like it. I'll just say that. Like, I can keep gushing about it, but I mean, obviously there's just still so much work to do, and I mean. I want it to be a movie, but I mean, I will settle for like a graphic novel. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, 100%. Yeah. So just keep your eyes out for snakes on a starship coming.
Yeah, something like that. No, so it's a commentary on a whole lot of things. Nothing negative. It's like I told you. It's like a love letter to the genre, and hey. If nobody else reads it but you, and that's good enough for me. And I sent it to you and to our multimedia manager and her husband, as well, because you got
Sean connection.
Yeah, you have to trust your inner circle, right? And,
that's right.
And so, like, hopefully, I can get it better and better and better, and maybe we use it for a story on down the road.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's. And one thing all of the wannabe writers out there, especially comic writers, that's kind of my genre, right? I'll tell you, like I told Ryan, when you're doing a graphic novel, or even when you're writing long form, your budget is unlimited. Blow stuff up, make it as big and grandiose as you want to. Do not be afraid to make it huge. You know what I mean? So
right.
Yeah, because if you start thinking, well, I have to have a budget for this, or nobody. Don't ever stop thinking like that. That you got to worry about things like that. That's so far down the road. You know what I mean? Just do what you want to do and make it as big and bad as you want to.
So you know what? I never once did I think about. Oh well, this. I don't know how I would do this in real life. I just
right.
I saw these cool like fight scenes, and I have like just cool stuff going on all the entire time. Is a whole bunch of like just action packed and
right.
There's a good story to it, and it's stuff that, like I said, man, it's just there's a whole lot of stuff. And it's just it's going on, and we're kind of I'm putting the viewer just kind of in the middle of the whole thing, and there's there's backstory to it that I mean, obviously I can't write the backstory, right? But I reference what happened in the past, and obviously what could possibly happen in the future. And we have some time travel, we have some faster than light travel. There's a whole bunch of like different empires and kingdoms and like all this stuff that just kind of I'm throwing the kitchen sink at it, man. It's everything. It's everything that you wanted to see. So
ain't nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean?
Nah.
Write your opus, man. Write your opus. That's what I think. I mean, I really do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Like I told you, like I'm super excited about it, but I'm also smart enough to realize that it's not finished, even with this, first, probably, all right, I'll say second draft, but it's really like a 1.5 draft.
Yeah.
So, because like I said, all I did was I edited a few things and took a few things out that just weren't working, but then I added stuff in. So it ballooned it from like, I don't know, I had like 180 some odd pages total, and the script I sent you is 140, but then I also have like another 200 and some odd pages written.
Right.
So
when did you first start writing it?
So the first time I had the idea was probably, I want to say 2006, right? It was right. So I can remember because it was kind of right after Revenge of the Sith came out.
Okay.
Which I'm not saying that was really impactful to me, because I mean I love the story and all that, but there was a lot to be desired on that movie. But like I was like, man, there's no other really good like sci-fi out right now. So I started writing the idea down.
Yeah.
And like on and off, I would write, and then I would lose interest for a while. Then like in 2008, I kind of put the outline together of how I wanted it to write, how I wanted the story to go. And then, kind of life kind of gets in the way, and I hadn't seen it for a while. I think in 2012, 13, somewhere in there, I saw it, started writing on it for a while, and then lost interest again. Then 2019, 18. So kind of when we started writing Immortalis, like I had found my file. I'd found all the old stuff that I had been writing.
Nice.
And so I was like, oh, that's cool. I remember that. And so like I started editing it. I was just like, let's focus on Immortalis for a while. And then I lost the so I wasn't smart, and I probably like OneDrive or Google Drive hadn't been invented yet, so it was on a thumb drive.
Thumb drive. Oh my God.
So I lost the thumb drive for a while, and then, as you know, a few months ago, I found it again.
Yeah.
And I plugged it in, and it worked. I couldn't believe that it actually still worked, And so I quickly downloaded all the stuff that I had on there, and I put it on the Google Drive, so it's all there now. And then I was like, as I was reading through all these stories, I have a sequel to The Last Starfighter that I was writing, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's called The Star League. Anyways,
it's an homage. Don't sue us.
That's right.
Just don't. No.
So I found it, and then as I was reading, I was starting to read all the stuff that I had written for this story, and I was like, I felt pretty inspired, especially like I said, after I watched Dune 2.
Yeah.
I had rewatched Dune and Dune 2, and Dune was such a big, impactful book, like Dune, and then I think I read a couple more in the series. The first book's by far the best.
Okay.
And it was just, kind of as my fandom grew, my appreciation for Dune kind of grew. And then when we actually made movies, I was like, oh, cool. They made actually a good Dune movie. And then the sequel came out, and you watch it together, and it's a great movie. And I was like, that kind of inspired me because it's, like I said, this is my love. That was what's the guy the director? What's his name?
Oh, Villeneuve.
Yeah. Villeneuve. He said that was his science fiction love letter.
Okay.
And so that just kind of unlocked the door for me. And man, I put all the files, all these different things that I had written down. Plus, you and I have always talked about just having a little notepad and putting ideas on, right?
Always. Yep.
So I had a couple of good ideas that I had written down in the recent past, and I started writing on that. And, I started quickly hitting all the high points on the outline that I had.
Right.
And before I knew it, I had the 180 some odd pages written. And then I was like, okay, that's great. And that's when I told you, hey, I got this thing written, and let me edit it one more time and I'll send it to you. And then not only was I wasn't really editing it, I was adding to it just because I kept on having these ideas and wanting to write them down. And then I'd have to go back and link it previously in the story just so it would make more sense later on. And then all of a sudden I have all these extra story beats written now. And
yeah.
So now that's how it all happened. So really, it started, like I said, in 2006, right around the time that Revenge of the Sith came out.
It was a hack, and he wasn't going to make it good. You were going to show him.
Yeah. Some of them more man, there's no good sci-fi left.
Right.
That's really the only thing I was thinking is maybe I can write a sci-fi, and that's really kind of how it started. And
that's awesome. That's there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, and so the thing about Star Wars is, I think the first three were so generational, right? It was just
right.
There's no way nothing he was going to do with that franchise after that, even waiting 20 years, 30 years, that it was going to be able to top that. Cause it was just, it created a whole generation of us, the geek, the space, the whole thing. And
absolutely
he made a ton of money off of it again, but I mean, I don't know. It was kind of a losing effort. I don't think he could have won no matter what he did, because he couldn't top what he did with the first three. That's in my opinion. So
you and I agree, and we're pretty close on how we rank the movies too.
Yeah,
for the audience to know, it's not it's not something we haven't talked about ad nauseum.
Right.
We talk about this all the time. I will say that the things that make the prequels better is actually the Clone Wars, the cartoon series, right? It makes the Clone Wars better.
Yes.
But think about that for just a minute. So you have the first three that are what, 6.5, 7 hours long.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So, and the original, right? The original three, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the prequels that are also 6.5, 7 hours long, but you have to actually add another 55 hours worth of show to make it make sense and make it better. And
right.
And so like, and don't get me wrong, I highly recommend watching Clone Wars, especially seasons 5 or 3 through 7. 1 and 2 are kind of childlike, but the rest is actually, it's really good Star Wars. And in fact, my favorite Star Wars non-movie Star Wars is the Ahsoka arc in the 7th season. It's fantastic. It's what goes on with Ahsoka during Order 66, which is it's phenomenal.
Right.
But anyways, like think about that. So we didn't have Star Wars after Return of the Jedi for what? Return of the Jedi was in 83, and we didn't get
2006
Phantom Menace until 96.
Was it 96?
90, 96, 98, 99, somewhere in there, right?
Maybe right. Yeah. So you're talking at least 20 years, right? Between.
Yeah. And so like, and then, unfortunately, Disney's taken Star Wars, and I don't think that they really understand what it is, except for, I don't know how the miracle they pulled it off, but Rogue One was phenomenal. You and me both. My all-time favorite Star Wars scene is the Darth Vader scene in the hallway.
Yeah,
that is full on Sith Lord right there. Everything else in that movie is, I mean, it's good, it's action packed, but that one scene makes that movie so great.
No, I 100% agree. I mean, it's just, and the same scene, but where he levitates the one rebel fighter on the ceiling and cuts him. It's great. It's just, I think that Rogue One and Solo, I really like Solo too. I know a lot of people didn't. Of course, you're recasting Harrison Ford, so it comes back to that. I think it's kind of a losing proposition for the fan. I guess the fan base, I would say. I don't know how to frame that. You know what I mean? Because I like Solo. So,
well, here's a news flash. So did I.
Okay.
There's a few things. First of all, Donald Glover was fantastic in it.
Yeah.
I thought that that Alden Emmerich guy did not detract from anything that Harrison Ford had done. Like he wasn't the part that made it bad. Like it wasn't a bad movie. Like there was just so many, like there were things in there that you could definitely tell that had been changed that weren't great, but the cast and the acting wasn't part of that.
Yeah, I love the cast. I mean, the whole cast to me was great. So,
absolutely. So, one of the things that I enjoyed though was, and I wish that they would do this, is Donald Glover as Lando.
Yeah,
I wish that they would do the young Lando Calrissian Chronicles or something like that. That would, I think, would be a fantastic show.
Yeah.
But Alden Emmerich, like a lot of people have a problem with him. I didn't. That was not the problem. I don't think.
No.
And really, I think that movie suffers from like Star Wars fatigue. Like there were so many Star Wars movies coming out one right after another, and then all of a sudden you have this Solo prequel, and they're like, "Oh, I already know everything about Han Solo."
Right.
It was a good movie. It really was. So that's the one thing that I see with that movie, and unfortunately, it just didn't do well on the box office, and ever since then, and the. What was the last one? Rise of Skywalker? Like they haven't made another movie yet,
Oh, you mean what was the last movie? I don't know.
Wasn't it Rise of Skywalker,
right? Movie, or were we talking series?
Well, I mean, the last movie was Solo, like the last Star Wars story was Solo.
Yeah, the last in theaters was Solo. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and you may be right. I think Disney's kind of trying to milk every dime out of it they can instead of taking time and building quality going forward. I mean,
I would much rather them wait a little bit and put a quality story out than just keep trying to crank them out.
Oh, agreed.
I will tell you that
for my stormtrooper story is what they need to wait.
Recording is in progress. Very good.
Cool. Well, after that brief intermission, we're back.
We are back. Very brief intermission. It certainly wasn't 40 minutes, maybe.
No, not at all. Not at all. So, anyhow, we were discussing the merits of the Solo movie.
Yeah, rightfully so. We both enjoyed it. Think I am not a big fan of the shows on Disney as much. I did like Skywalker. Is that what it was the one with Mark Hamill? What was that one called?
The Mandalorian?
No, Mark Hamill. The one with Mark Hamill. Remember he had his six. Oh no, shoot. What am I saying? I was thinking of Kenobi. Sorry. Totally.
Okay.
Yeah, with Ewan McGregor. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Right.
I don't know why the hell.
So I mean, I really thoroughly enjoy Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
I think the story could have been better.
Yeah.
It felt more like the Reva story than the Obi-Wan story, right?
Okay.
Hold on.
Yeah, you're kind of buffering pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're glitching, man.
Yeah, sorry, brother.
That's okay.
All right. So what I was saying was I enjoy Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan, but the story, I don't think there was a whole lot of teeth to it.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So I was hoping for better, or I guess different.
Yeah.
I mean the Leia stuff was fine, but at the end of the day, I was like, it didn't really move the needle on anything like Obi-Wan for me.
Right.
Yeah.
I did love Andor though. I thought that was kind of in that same Rogue One vein. You know what I mean?
So the thing I liked about Andor was it's kind of a slow burn.
Yeah.
But it got really good there at the end, I thought.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
especially when you figured out what they were building.
Right. Yeah.
Like, dang, that it ties it all together really well. So
yeah, for sure.
I was disappointed with the Ahsoka series.
I've not watched it. I watched one episode and that was it. I haven't picked it back up. So
I was it gets better towards the end, obviously, but
yeah,
it's not unless you've watched like the Clone Wars and Rebels, you'll be like, who are these people? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
because it's really just the 5th season of Rebels, in my opinion.
Oh,
you know,
wow. That's pretty crazy.
Yep. And so but it's fine. I think Rosario Dawson as an older Ahsoka, it works. I like her as an actress. I think she does a good job. Just again, the material that they give them, it didn't fit well. Like, it wasn't horribly written.
Yeah.
Like, I know Dave Filoni, that's his character and all that. So he was like the director and executive producer, but like he was trying to do too much, in my opinion. He was trying to. So I don't know if you ever read Heir to the Empire back in the 90s. Timothy Zahn in 91 wrote the 3 Heir to the Empire books that introduced, like Mara Jade, for example. And so they're trying to set up Heir to the Empire by using characters from Rebels, and like it will be difficult to do that. I know that they can do it. Like, there's nothing stopping them, but I really was kind of hopeful that they would do something on their own. I mean, it's great to bring Thrawn in and make him canon and all that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, like, just make the story better than it is, And Ahsoka is such a unique character because the people that watched her grow up on screen.
Right.
Like they had a definite character arc, and so where she's at now and how she's progressed throughout her life, like it's been chronicled on all the stuff around, like the main trilogies, right? It's like she's a side character, but she's a main character in all these side projects,
Right.
So like I think that she, as far as like a character, like she could be so much more than she is right now. Like, they're not using her to the best of their abilities, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But again, that's just personal taste. I know there was people that liked it. I was incredibly, like, the thing that I guess I was most disappointed about was the Book of Boba Fett.
Okay. Yeah.
I was kind of disappointed with that, man.
Yeah. Seemed a little too cheesy puff to me, you know what I mean? In my opinion.
Right, right. And so like you and I are big Boba Fett fans. Like,
Yeah,
we love that whole part is Star Wars, the non magical part
right.
of Star Wars, kind of the seedy underbelly. And like it felt really family friendly. And I'm like,
Oh, it did. It's just
Boba Fett's not family, should not be
right.
family friendly.
Yeah, it should have been more in the vein of Rogue One and Andor. I
Yes.
more darker.
I totally 100% agree. I think that if they would have even like ridden in that style, it would have been made it so much better.
Yeah,
Like 100 times better. And
yeah,
it just was like, eh.
yeah. I agree, and I think that they had that with the Mandalorian, and they still do. It was more family friendly type stuff. They didn't need to do it with Boba Fett. They should have went a total different direction with that. So
Right. And the thing with the Mandalorian, like I personal, I'm a big Katie Sackhoff fan.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Right.
So I'm excited that she gets to play Bo-Katan in real life. And I thought I personally liked the third season. I know a lot of people that didn't like the third season of Mandalorian, but there's some like the thing I think is fantastic is we're actually exploring all like the history of Mandalore,
right.
and it's interesting. Like the only thing that I didn't care for in the entire third season was the Lizzo and Jack Black episode.
Oh yeah.
It was just I was like, come on, man. Like I think Jack Black would have been great. I think I have very little opinion about Lizzo in general. Like I've never seen her act in anything before.
Right.
But I think Jack Black could have been great in the right role, and that just wasn't it for him.
Yeah.
I've never seen him as like an Imperial.
It seemed like
even
cameo for a cameo's sake. You know what I mean? To me.
Right. Right. And so in that specific episode, like Christopher Lloyd as like, the a lead scientist for the Empire stuck doing that. Like
right.
I was more intrigued by that than the Lizzo and Jack Black stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, 100%.
Like they tied in like, like battle droids and it was like, oh, I like this, and then it's like, oh, what is this,
Yeah.
It kind of pulled you all the way out of the story. Like if they would have gotten rid of the Jack Black and Lizzo stuff and just focused on the Christopher Lloyd part,
right,
it would have been a great episode, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, but overall, like the third season, I know people like it's not focused on Din Djarin and Grogu, but like there's more to Mandalore and Mandalorian like folklore than just that guy.
Yeah, for sure.
And I like because the first two seasons were his. They were completely 100% his, and like. But if you want the show to go stale, like you just keep focusing on him. He keeps chasing down bounty hunters and protecting Grogu.
Yeah,
great. People stop watching after that.
Monster of the Week formula. You know what I mean? Same thing every episode's the same thing over and over again. So yeah, it would. Right. But again, like we said, cameo for cameo's sake is one thing, but having characters with depth and interesting story, that's I don't think their formula right now with Mandalorian. You know what I mean?
Right. They should have like a fresh perspective
right.
on it.
Right.
And Filoni and Jon Favreau, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Just give them creative license to really do it. I feel like they're kind of held back in some respects.
Maybe.
And because I know both of those guys love like the whole story and mythos of like Mandalore. Like, dude, Mandalorians have been around even like in like Knights of the Old Republic.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's got so much history and they could do so much with it, but they it's Disney. It's kind of problematic right now. Disney Plus is
agreed.
Like I'll tell you something that I really enjoyed watching. Did you watch any of X-Men 97?
I have not.
Did you when you were younger, you watched the cartoon, right?
I did not.
Oh my goodness. So like it was right in my wheelhouse. It was high school. Like I was in high school getting ready to graduate, and I graduated in 94 and like the last season was 96. So first couple of years of college, like it was right there. It was like at the height of X-Men and Marvel and all that. And
right.
Like it was, the stories were great. The animation's great, and they were able to recapture that with the new series, the X-Men '97. And man, they explore some of like the highlights of like all the comics that were coming out during that era. I enjoy like every episode. I enjoyed. It was great.
Yeah,
So
I've heard great things about it. I just haven't had time, so I need to check it out one of these days. So
absolutely, absolutely. So let's see. I'm in the middle of watching Battlestar for the first time.
you've never watched it?
I never watched it like when it was.
Katie Sackhoff, Edward James.
I'm a huge. I was a huge Katie Sackhoff fan.
Yeah.
And because of Starbuck, but never actually watched
Oh wow.
the show. Like
Okay.
I mean, I watched it for Katie, but
Yeah.
not like really. I mean, I didn't. I wasn't. I was more like during that era. I don't know. I guess I just wasn't. I was doing other things. You know, I was early on in my marriage. I've been married for 25 years, and
Right.
so it was early on. And my wife, she's not a big sci-fi fan, so like we wouldn't watch stuff unless we could watch it together. And so she just never really felt like Battlestar Galactica would be something she wanted to watch. So I have another buddy of mine that had never watched it either, and we decided, hey, let's kind of watch it together. So we have a goal of watching 4 episodes a week because everybody's busy.
Yeah.
So we watch 4 episodes a week. We started with the original miniseries, and
Yeah.
I think we're in like week 2 or 3 right now. So we're getting ready to finish season 1. It's really good, man. It's not just sci-fi either that makes it good. It's the like the human element of the story I really like.
Yeah.
And just getting to know these characters better. And it's so much better than like the stuff that we saw from the 70s.
Yeah.
I remember that show on TV. I know you do too. So but it's been really good, and it holds up pretty well, I think. I mean, as far as like a TV show, I've nothing but good things to say about it, so I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. I think me and the wife watched it when it was first out on, I think it was Sci-Fi back in the day when it was first airing. And yeah, we watched it through and liked it, and we talked about rewatching it again. So yeah, it's a good show. Really liked it.
I guess because I just, I hadn't had a whole lot of expectation for it.
Yeah.
I went in not thinking that, it was a good show back in the early 2000s. And man, like the first 3 episodes or the miniseries.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Trisha Helfer, when she comes in and at the Armistice Station and pretty much blows it up.
Right.
And that's where it starts. I'm like, holy moly, like,
right.
What's this all about? Who was that? And so like, for us, the Cylons, when we were younger, they were all like toaster looking robots.
Right. Yep.
And robots. So now, they've evolved. I think that's a pretty interesting like concept to explore. And the fact that like AI is such a huge thing right now, like it's a perfect time to watch it, I think.
Yeah.
So
I would agree with that.
Yep. Well, it looks like we're almost at time, man. What else we got going on this week?
So I'm not sure. So I finally got to. Have you seen Godzilla -1 yet?
I haven't.
Oh,
I've been busy with like weddings.
Yeah. Well, that's on your list. See that?
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Well done. Dubbed over.
You're not the first person that's told me that, actually.
They tried to do it exactly like they did the old Godzilla things, but imagine with better CGI, better camera work, and better. Yeah, it's freaking great. I loved it. I've watched it twice now.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So other than writing and the occasional movie, that's about all I'm doing.
So same. I've been writing a ton. Several people have told me I need to start watching Shogun.
I watched it all the way through. Great. It's great. Freaking great.
Is it?
It is. I loved it.
I guess they're going to do season 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So
funny story about that. I only started watching it because I thought it was I thought the lead character, his name's Cosmo Jarvis in real life, but I thought just seeing the like the still shots of it and stuff that it was Rick from The Walking Dead. I can't remember his name, but I thought it was him in it, so that's why I started watching it. But it wasn't. It's a different guy named Cosmo Jarvis. Great show though. Really good show. Phenomenal show. So
all right. Well, that's something else I'm going to have to put on the list then too.
Put that on your list. So
yeah. So now with all the wedding stuff over and everything, I've got a little bit more time on my hands.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'll get a chance to watch this stuff.
For sure. And we'll be setting up interviews, talking to some people, doing some PopCon talks coming up. So yeah.
Who do we have on the schedule coming soon?
Mr. R. Allen Brooks from Anguish Garden, writer of Anguish Garden, also writes does a local comic for the newspaper. I am an idiot because I don't remember the name of the newspaper. There's like 7 different newspapers here in Denver.
Sure.
But yeah, I've tabled beside him. I first met him. We tabled beside each other at Mutiny Info Cafe for a free comic book day. Not this year, but the year before. Super great guy. He is a professor, and I can't remember the school either because it's I'm not.
It's okay.
I'm great with faces, terrible with names and what people do and that kind of thing. But
I've met him once. We were in Denver together. He's a great guy, pretty insightful and engaging.
Yes.
So looking forward to that interview. And you said we had somebody else on scheduled or lined up.
Well, I'm trying to get on schedule. I reached out to Rio Burton. Rio Burton is she's an artist who does commission work, does covers, that kind of thing. She did the cover for what's out now from Marcosia, issue number 9, but that's also going to be the cover for the second graphic novel. So she does the Pierce Nunn cover, and it's just one of my favorite
man.
covers. And we're trying
people can buy that at our shop for on a t-shirt. We actually have that.
Yeah, that cover is on a t-shirt. So yeah, I need to get one. I think
it's pretty great.
Yeah, I'm looking at getting her on for an episode down the line, as well as her husband writes and she does the art for that. They do a series called Harpy of the West. I am a backer on Kickstarter.
I've seen it, actually. I've not bought yet, but I have seen it.
Yeah, it's a really good series, Old West stuff. Really good stuff. So yeah, hopefully get those 2 on too. And some other people. Thinking about reaching out to Sean Callahan.
I'd love to talk to Sean.
Good guy, great colorist, works for Scout Comics. Yep. Also met him through, me and you tabling at Denver Fan X beside him. So like to get him on. Yeah. So we're getting quite a slate coming up. So
that's great. And I'd like to circle back around and talk with Ben. I had some stuff come up. I wasn't able to be on that episode.
Yeah, no
worries. I missed it.
I've actually commissioned him to do 2 covers coming up. So as soon as we get that first cover done, we'll probably have him back on because I could talk to Ben for hours too. He's just easy.
He's a good guy.
A lot about the industry. And yeah, really good guy.
Yep. Well, I think our time's done, my friend.
All right. Until next time.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. And we will see you between 2 panels. To learn more about Between 2 Panels, M&L Comics, or the Immortalis comic series, go to mnlcomics.com or check out M&L Comics or Tam Immortalis on Facebook. Between 2 Panels is a proud member of the Comic Zone podcast family.